Ozzy Osbourne, one of the greatest frontmen.
All right now, that's at the roof. I want everybody to clap. There's somebody not clapping, I can see. Now, louder. Stamp your head.
Dad, you are this. The goat. If someone
goat?
calls you a goat.
You're
Go.
old and wise.
No, Mum.
Constipated.
No, Dad. The greatest of all time is what it stands for.
What is going on, everybody? I am super excited about today's episode, but before we can get started, we have to take care of a couple of things. First and foremost, this episode is brought to you by W. W is a fantastic energy and sports drink company that, man, they put out some really, really good products, and I'm a big fan. Currently in the process of re-upping my supply, actually. So it's a powder. Mix it in your drinks. It's extremely tasty. Highly recommend it. Hey, so there was an issue with the podcast, like just right here in this one spot. So fixing it real quick. The code is Stories10, gets you 10% off on all W products. It's, well, your purchase in general. So like whatever's in the grocery cart, you get 10% off. So use the code Stories10. I don't know why that was so hard. Get you some good energy products as well as some great hydration stuff. Some really cool tumblers. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. They've got a really great program with the marketers and stuff, but I've used quite a bit of time already talking about it, but I really enjoy it. So be sure to check out the Tin Roof playlist over on Spotify. Added some more music to it, including who we're going to be talking about today. And then last but not least, we have a spread shop. I know. I'm pretty excited about it. I cannot believe that we have a spread shop. Like, this is so cool. Currently, right now, as of recording this, there's only one option up there. Almost like the old quote, you can get any color you want it in as long as it is black, by Henry Ford. You can get any shirt on the Justin Stories spread shop page, which the link will be in the comments, as long as it is a Tin Roof logo t-shirt. Super excited about that. I can't believe that we actually have merch. So promote the show by wearing it, slapping a sticker on the side of your vehicle or something, or go out tagging stop signs. I'm kidding. I'm not gonna promote vandalism, but you get the idea. Help promote the show, get you some cool merch, and I would greatly appreciate it. With that being said, I am so excited about today's topic because he is the people call him the Doom Father of metal, and that would be none other than himself, the Prince of Darkness, Ozzy Osbourne. And so, why are we talking about Ozzy Osbourne? Well, because he's Ozzy Osbourne, first of all, but secondly, because he is currently celebrating his 50th anniversary as a musician, and so obviously he's retired now from touring and stuff, but I really wanted to talk about a handful of different things here on the podcast, kind of go into like somewhat in depth on Ozzy's life, because the dude's been through a ton of stuff. I was weighing the options on like which way to go with all of this. There might be some heavy material in here, so viewer discretion advised. Just because Ozzy's had a hard life, and there's a lot of things in there that are tough. But I do want to take it in a positive approach as much as possible. Do some explaining and try to walk out of this with a better understanding, and yeah, pretty much that. But after this one, we're actually going to. I'm going to put it to a vote. I'm going to tally up the different votes from the comments here, from the comments on Facebook, and probably from Instagram on who you guys want me to talk about next. And since we are talking about somebody from the metal side of things, we're going to talk about somebody from the country side of things. So it can be Chris Ledoux, George Strait, or Alan Jackson. All three will eventually be covered on the show, but which one do you want to hear next? Okay, that being said, from Birmingham, England, we have one of the founding fathers of heavy metal that we are going to be discussing. And like we have said, it is none other than Ozzy Osbourne, who Ozzy is actually a nickname given to him by his mates in school. But he was born John Michael Osbourne, and his dad was also a John Michael Osbourne, or John Osbourne, referred to as Jack, much like his son eventually goes by. He was with Black Sabbath starting in the 70s and went with them all the way up until basically 1980. And then in 1980 was fired from the band, essentially in 79. And so being fired from Black Sabbath, that's where we see my favorite frontman. No offense to Ozzy, because Ozzy is Ozzy, but another huge front runner in the birthing or founding of metal would be Ronnie James Dio, who is just my favorite. But Ozzy is also a favorite of mine, and being fired from Black Sabbath. Well, why was he fired and replaced by Ronnie James Dio? He had alcohol issues as well as drug substance issues, which they all did, but Ozzy's was way worse, and it began to create a rift in the group. But let's wind it back. Let's wind it back a little bit to like what happened in the early days, the good days of Black Sabbath. We get things like their very first album, Black Sabbath, which before they were called Black Sabbath. Actually, Paranoid from the Paranoid album. Alexa, stop. I'm not quite sure why my Echo decided to start playing because I never said anything about them about that. So I guess maybe my Echo is as excited as I am about this whole episode as well. So we get some amazing stuff from the Black Sabbath people, that band. My brain is all now a mess because of that. But self-titled album in 1970, and then we get other albums such as Paranoid, Master of Reality, Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, and the very last album in 78 known as Never Say Die. Now, probably the biggest one out of any of the albums was the Paranoid album. Why? Because we get Paranoid, we get Iron Man, and we get War Pigs. And so because of that, that album is actually ranked 131st on top of like most influential albums by Rolling Stone. Although Rolling Stone's opinion doesn't matter because they ranked it at 131st and not higher up. Maybe one day I'll do like a most influentials episode where we talk most influential country albums as well as most influential metal albums. But in my opinion, it should have been, definitely higher up. But then in the 80s, we see the Blizzard of Oz being like the first solo album by Ozzy. And then following that up, he gets 13 more studio albums released. It is wild. So whenever he begins to get ready to do the start of his solo career, he is approached by the producer of Jet Records, something Arden, and I can't remember the guy's name, but he is a small piece in this just because of his daughter Sharon Arden. Sharon was a band manager for her father's, record company. So Ozzy and Sharon begin to hit it off. At this time, Ozzy's still married, but whenever Ozzy gets divorced, they I have no idea like actual like lines on when dating and whatnot stuff started to happen, but I do know that uh, the divorce happens. Sometime after that, Ozzy marries Sharon within the same year as the divorce. With that being said, they give birth to three children: uh, Amy, Kelly, and Jack. Amy, I don't remember ever seeing her like on the show Osbournes. I didn't really watch much of the Osbournes show growing up, but that's not where my love of Ozzy first came from. It was actually his solo stuff primarily, and of course Iron Man and whatnot. Being a high schooler that was in love with metal music, uh, Iron Man was definitely played a lot on my MP3 players back in the day. But so we get Blizzard of Oz being the first album. We're gonna walk it back now. So Blizzard of Oz, 1980, and then the other 13 albums after that were, pulling up the actual like discography because I don't remember the exact order off the top of my head. You get Blizzard of Oz, my favorite one, Diary of a Madman, Bark at the Moon, The Ultimate Sin, No Rest for the Wicked, No More Tears, which is another like fantastic album. Osmosis, Down to Earth, Undercover, Black Rain, Scream, Ordinary Man, which honestly, had I been doing this podcast back in 2020 when Ordinary Man was released, Ordinary Man would have won Single of the Year for Tin Roof as well as Metal Album of the Year because that thing is fantastic, top to bottom, has a ton of guests on it. It's really really cool. And then Patient Number 9 was released in 2022. So uh, tons of albums that were fantastic. Go Silver, ha ha. So on charts, wise, Blizzard of Oz, you get ranked 7th in UK, 8th in Canada, 47th in New Zealand, 21st in the US. Diary of a Madman does not do as well in UK or Canada. You see it at 14th on the charts for UK. You see it 16th on the charts in Canada, 42nd, so it goes up a little bit higher in New Zealand, but 16th on the US charts. Bark at the Moon starts hitting charts in other countries, but still kind of meh. It's interesting. So, like, Diary of a Madman actually goes platinum by MC and RIAA 3 times, but I'm doing my best to give you like all this information plus like some really cool stories along the way. Bark at the Moon, 24th in Canada, or not Canada, UK, and then 94th in Australia. First time he charts in Australia as a solo member or band musician. Good grief. 23rd in Canada, 20th in Finland, first time there. 50th in New Zealand, 9th in Sweden, first time in Sweden, 19th in the US, which honestly, Bark at the Moon, like, I'm surprised that some of these albums just did not chart higher. I feel like Diary of a Madman, I gotta go look and see what was the charts like in uh, the US at the time, because I want to see what Diary of a Madman was stacked up against, because I feel like Diary of a Madman should have been higher. The Ultimate Sin, 8th in UK, 36th in Australia, 19th in Canada, 3rd in Finland, 3rd in Finland, 31st in Germany, which it had like he had never charted in Germany before as a solo musician. 6th in Norway, which never charted in Norway. 21st in New Zealand. His second chart in Sweden, number 4, with Ultimate Sin. Didn't chart in Switzerland. Up to this point, his albums had not charted in Switzerland. 6th in the US. So Ultimate Sin, we're starting to get up there. Let's look and see what songs are come off of the Ultimate Sin. So track listings, and this is really cool because they do it side A and side B, because well back then you would have had a vinyl, and so that's pretty cool. So you get Ultimate Sin as number 1, number 2 Secret Loser, 3 Never Know Why, 4 Thank God for the Bomb, 5 Never, side B Lightning Strikes, 7 Killer of Giants, 8 Fool Like You, 9 Shot in the Dark, which I feel like Shot in the Dark was actually probably the best song on that album. No offense to any of the other songs, but I feel like it got way more playtime, I guess, than any of the others. Currently, at the time of this album in particular, you have Ozzy Osbourne, Jake Ely on guitars, Phil Soussan on the bass, and Randy Castillo on drums. Mike Moran on the keyboards. So I feel like if we're going to talk, these early solo stuff by Ozzy Osbourne, we have to discuss his early 20s guitarist during this time period that became his best friend and really kind of helped him along the way during this solo stuff, who wanted to go back to school and get himself back together. So for the first couple of years of Ozzy's uh, touring and solo career, he is accompanied by Randy Rhoads, who was born in Santa Monica, California, but his place of death was Leesburg, Florida, in a horrible plane crash. What ended up happening was they had to take a break while in between stops and trying to get the AC on the bus fixed, because March in Florida, it's pretty hot. So trying to get the AC fixed, they have some downtime. The driver of the bus was actually a licensed pilot, and so he told Randy and I can't remember her name. It's Rachel something. She and him went up in this plane with uh, the bus driver, which was actually, the plane was actually dubbed the Doctor Killer, because so many like hobby pilots had accidents with these planes because they were very, very powerful small planes, and so they went up. They made a couple of passes, and then they decided to pass over the top of the bus. Whenever they did, this is where it goes wrong. The plane's wing hits the top of the bus, cutting the bus in half. Thankfully, nobody inside was hurt, including Ozzy and Sharon, and the rest of the band. Unfortunately, those on the plane were not so fortunate, as they crashed to their deaths, including Ozzy's, at this point, probably best friend, Randy Rhoads. Randy was one of the founding members of Quiet Riot, just an extremely talented artist, and more importantly, a really good friend of Ozzy's. And so that happened in 1982. So for his first 2 albums, 3 actually, I think. His first 2 albums, Blizzard of Oz and Diary of a Madman, feature Randy Rhoads on guitars. So that's another notable thing about his individual career. Then we get No Rest for the Wicked, 23rd in UK, 40th in Australia, didn't chart in Canada this time, 7th in Finland, 29th in Germany, 12th in Norway, not charting in New Zealand, 18th in Sweden for his second. Nope, my chart messed me up. So, but it ended up charting 13th in the US. His highest ranked chart in the US was 3rd as a album goes, and that place is tied with Ordinary Man, Patient Number 9, and Black Rain. it's interesting. Undercover didn't do very well, and he's been given several number ones. Singles wise, as lead artist, you've got Crazy Train that charted 49th in the UK. Mr. Crowley charted 46th in the UK, but these two didn't chart anywhere else whenever they were released, which is incredibly interesting. Mr. Crowley was actually a live EP version of it in 1980, but whenever we get like more recent, like Crazy Train is huge. There's been samples of it in rap songs and different things, so that's really interesting. Fly High Again charted in Canada, but nowhere else. Symptom of the Universe hit 100 in the UK. Tonight didn't chart anywhere. Again, talking singles. Bark at the Moon hit 21st in the UK. Shot in the Dark was 20th in the UK and 68th in the US. It's really interesting. Mama, I'm Coming Home, which is one of my favorite Ozzy songs. Charted 28th here in the US, and this is 91, so the year I was born. When was this song actually released? Because now I'm curious. So 17th of November. So I was a couple of months old whenever this song came out, and it's one of my just affectionate songs. Like, it's definitely one of my favorites. Actually, here's a really cool background note for you. As Zakk Wylde recalled in a 2022 interview, I remember me and Ozzy originally did that on a piano in my apartment in North Hollywood. I transposed it to guitar when we got in the studio when we were working on the record, and then it sounded great. The song started off with the pedal steel kind of thing. I mean, it just sounded great. I mean, everybody's performance and everything like that, but I mean, just the overall sound of it, the guys knocked it out of the park for sure. Fantastic song. But again, like several of his songs don't chart very well. We get to some of the more recent ones. This is a shame because these two songs I thought were really fantastic. Ordinary Man and It's a Raid did not chart, which Ordinary Man featuring Elton John is just chef's kiss. Like, if you have a TikTok, go over to my TikTok channel and check out the video I did to promote this episode, because I use Ordinary Man in it, and yeah, it's such an awesome song. But Ozzy did not just bring us fantastic songs. He brought us an amazing festival known as Ozfest. So I wanted to look up lineups and discuss lineups from Ozfest. Actually, here, Ozfest lineups ranked from worst to best. So, a ranking of every this is from Loudwire, because I want to cite my sources. So if I forget to put the link in the comments or like in the description, you have it. It's from Loudwire. Search Ozfest ranking or lineups ranked. So 16, Ozfest 2010. You had Ozzy, Motley Crue, Halford, and Driver. So Rob Halford, lead singer of Judas Priest. So that one, not super strong, but if you look at the second stage, you have Black Label Society, Drowning Pool, Kingdom of Sorrow, and a few others. Nonpoint was there. So yeah, I kind of wish I would have went to Ozfest 2010. But then ranked 15th, we've got Ozzy, Lamb of God, Static X, Lordy. That was 2007, if I didn't say the date. 14th, Ozfest 2003, which was Ozzy, Korn, Marilyn Manson, and Disturbed. Ozfest 2000 came in at 13, which really surprises me because this lineup is stacked. You have Ozzy, you have Pantera, you have Incubus, you have Static X, you have POD, Queens of the Stone Age, Soulfly, Kitty, Disturbed, Taproot. I mean, pretty big lineup for Ozfest 2000, in my opinion. Can't get much better than Ozzy and Pantera, in my opinion, before this lineup. Having POD on there is pretty cool as well. Ozfest 2002 coming in at 12th with Ozzy, System of a Down, Rob Zombie, and POD. Ozfest 2016, which also like cross promoted with Knotfest. So you have Black Sabbath, Slipknot, Disturbed, Slayer, Megadeth, Amon and Marth, Anthrax, Trivium, Suicide Silence, Whitechapel, Amur, Hatebreed, Children of Bodom, Devil Driver. Names are getting too small on the poster for me to read, but that one's ranked 11th, and that's a pretty good one because you got Disturbed, Megameth, Opeth. Yeah, just absolutely fantastic. Ozfest 01, Marilyn Manson, Black Sabbath, Slipknot, Papa Roach. So at that time, like that place was going crazy, and this was also the Ozfest, that Crazy Town. You know the 1-1 song by them, and that's at the Come Come My Lady, You're My Pretty Lady. You know the song. I don't have to sing. I'm tone deaf. I am a musical like fan, like a historian, whatever, but definitely not an artist myself. So they were on that tour, and they actually ended up like causing all kinds of issues, and I think they even ended up getting thrown off, if I remember correctly. So pretty crazy stuff there. Ozfest 08, you have Ozzy, Metallica, Jonathan Davis' solo tour, Serj Tankian's solo tour. That's really interesting that Ozfest 08 is ranked so high compared to when Korn was on there as a headliner. Ozfest 2017, cross promoting with Knotfest again. You have Ozzy, you have not Rob Zombie, you have Stone Sour, you have Testament. Again, there's so many bands on this; it's hard to read them all because the logos start getting smaller. Children of Bodom again, which Children of Bodom is a pretty good like death metal, black metal type band. Code Orange was there as well, and if you're a fan of wrestling, you know the important roles that Code Orange has played here as of late with entrance music and with the late Bray Wyatt. Ozfest, this is ranked 7th. 06, we have Ozzy, System of a Down, Disturbed, and Avenged Sevenfold being your headlining people. And I remember the logo for this one in particularly. I'll try to post it up here on the video, the picture of it. But Ozfest 06 was a big one. And then Ozfest 96. So 10 years difference between 7th and 6th. So Ozfest 96, you have Ozzy, Slayer, Danzig, Sepultura, Biohazard, Fear Factory, and Neurosis. That's a stout lineup for 1996. So that's really cool. Oh yes, this infamous logo. I loved this logo. It was like the crazy little kid. I'm gonna try to make sure to put this logo because Ozfest '99. You have Black Sabbath, Rob Zombie, Deftones, and Slayer. Also, you had Slipknot, a like emerging Slipknot at this point, which I had an epiphany there, but it's not for this. So you have Head PE, you have Static X, like Ozfest '99 definitely was. We're getting to the good ones now, for sure, because that was number 5. So number 4, it messed up. Why did it mess up? No, don't do this to me. Okay, number 4, Ozfest '98. Ozzy, Tool, Megadeth, Limp Bizkit as your headlining bands. Again, you have Incubus, Snot. I think it's interesting how many times Incubus got to play Ozfest. They obviously had a really good relationship with Ozzy because Ozzy was kind of like had his hands in this along with Sharon, which makes sense because of Sharon having her stuff with being a manager at one point. but to have Motorhead on here as well, which is interesting that they were not listed as like a headliner. But man, good stuff there. Seven Dust, which Seven Dust has some really great songs. I'm a big fan of Seven Dust. So yeah, Ozfest '98, good one. Ozfest '97 would be number 3. If here we go, which Ozfest '97, and think about like where these bands were at this time. You have Ozzy and Black Sabbath. So Ozzy's going to perform solo stuff, and he's going to perform with Sabbath, which is super cool. And it even says on the poster featuring Ozzy, Tony Iommi, and Geezer Butler. And then you also have Marilyn Manson from '97. You have Pantera, Typo Negative, Fear Factory, Machine Head, Powerman 5000, and then you also have Downset, Cold Chamber, Slow Burn, Drain, STA, and Vision of Disorder. Ozfest 04 coming in at number 2, and this is a stacked 04 lineup, and it says 20 bands, 14 hours of music, starring Ozzy Osbourne, Judas Priest, Slayer, Dimmu Borgir, which I am not familiar with them, Superjoint Ritual, Zakk Wylde's Black Label Society. Then on the Hot Topic stage, you have Slipknot, Hatebreed, Lamb of God, Atreyu, Every Time I Die, Laguna Coil, Bleeding Through, Unearth. Like, what? Like this? Oh, Ozfest 04 was insane, and I love like the whole like demon guy on the 4-wheeler. Like, very cool artwork. Sponsored by PlayStation. It definitely like a very good 04 lineup. And that was number 2. So number 1, Ozfest 05. And yes, this one was absolutely amazing, because if you look at this, like the headliners, you have Sabbath, Maiden, Velvet Revolver, and Mudvayne. Like, wow. Definitely a fantastic lineup. So you have, looking at some of the notes here, Mastodon, Trivium, which Trivium would have been like pretty new at this time. So like new Trivium was just going wild. Like that's fantastic. I mean, that is really cool. Rob Zombie was on the undercard. In Flames was on the undercard. This was fantastic. Killswitch, Engage, Mastodon. I think I had already said As I Lay Dying. Like, Ozfest 05 definitely earned the number 1 spot. That's a really great lineup. Man, it's really cool to kind of sit here and like talk about what Ozzy has done for music, especially one of my favorite genres. But one thing that I thought was really cool was my wife and I, we watched the movie yesterday. That's yesterday, not yesterday. So we watched the movie yesterday, and if you haven't seen it, the whole premise is that the Beatles never existed. And if we go all the way back to Ozzy's childhood in Birmingham, England, Birmingham was a very rough place. It was very much like your beatnik, like hardworking, like stiffs. Like these guys get all the blue collar jobs, like they're working in factories, 15 hours a day, kind of stuff. And Tommy Iommi and I think Geezer Butler both also had the same experience. And so like the guys in Sabbath didn't want any part of it, and to really, really like have that desire to get out of there. Late 60s, early 70s, like Beatles are everywhere. And so the song She Loves You is actually what really, really inspired Ozzy to become a musician. Ozzy was trying to be a criminal, and it did not work for him. But the important thing here is the inspiration of John Lennon. So if we have no John Lennon, if we follow the line of thinking here from yesterday, so if there's no John Lennon as a writer, if there's no Beatles as a band, Ozzy doesn't get inspired. There's no Sabbath. Bands like Metallica, Slipknot, Mudvayne, Iron Maiden, all those guys don't get inspired. We have no metal at that point. While I'm not a huge Beatles fan, I do enjoy some of their songs, and they have to be accredited and given the credit where credit is due, as being probably one of the most influential bands of all time. And I'm super thankful for them and their inspiration that they had on Ozzy, because of what Ozzy was able to do himself. And I'm getting all emotional and teary eyed over here. But man, you like to think that of a world without metal is kind of crazy. But then a world without the Beatles is kind of crazy. So I just thought that would be a fun little topic to kind of like talk about and to think in the back of your head as we begin to wrap up talking about Ozzy and how big of an influence he has been in celebrating his amazing career. But before we fully close out, Ozzy has been one who unfortunately had his share of negativity in the limelight, whether it be from his drug abuse and alcohol abuse to things that were fueled by those isms that he dealt with, as far as alcoholism and drug abuse, um all the way up through being called a Satanist because of his dark image, and being called Prince of Darkness and everything else. But in particularly, I remember whenever I was in school, I think I was middle school, like really like beginning my interest in metal music. And one thing in particular really stuck out in my head. I had rented a movie from like a Christian bookstore or something that was about metal and like the negative effects of metal. And this is something that I really want to have a topic, like more of a discussion about, to promote the positives of metal as opposed to the negatives that everybody sees. And one of the things from this video that really bothered me was this particular, like one in particular from the 80s. This took place in 1984. The article that we're going to be looking at is from history.com, but it's an Ozzy Osbourne fan dies by suicide. 19-year-old John McCollum is found shot to death on his bed in Indio, California. Although it was quickly determined that the fatal wound was self-inflicted, McCollum's parents believe that singer Ozzy Osbourne was actually responsible because their son had been listening to Ozzy Osbourne's album Blizzard of Oz, which contained the song Suicide Solution, when he killed himself. In their lawsuit, McCollum's parents claimed that there were hidden lyrics in the song. I have to stop there, because the whole hidden lyrics thing of like playing a CD backwards, or not a CD but a vinyl backwards, or these subliminal things, like, why? Because like Ozzy loves his fans. Any interview you ever see him in, he's thanking his fans. It's all for the fans, the fans, the fans, the fans. He loves them. He would not want them to hurt themselves. And so it's, who's to say that that song was even the song that was exactly on the record player at the time whenever this happened. So let's take a look real quick at the track listing for Blizzard of Oz. Because there's more than one song on there. And so, number one, I don't know. 2D. Or no, that's 4. I was going to say, this seems weird. Okay, so I want to look at it in a better format. Okay, side A. Number 1, I don't know. 2, Crazy Train. 3, Goodbye to Romance. 4, D. 5, Suicide Solution. 6, Mr. Crowley. 7, No Bone Movies. 8, Revelation, also titled Mother Earth. Number 9, Steal Away the Night. Goodbye to Romance. D was like a interlude type thing, and it was written by Randy Rhoads. Yeah, it contains a song with the word suicide in it. But to say that was the song that was the nail in the coffin, so to speak, horribly. I don't think that that's fair to Ozzy, to young McCollum. I don't think that that's fair. I think one of the best things to do would be to break down some of the other lyrics from some of these other songs. If you listen to some of Ozzy's stuff, not all of it, obviously, but some of it, there's definitely things that you can see line up with things that have gone on in his life, particularly the Ordinary Man album, which is why I liked it so much. But in this case, okay, maybe he had dating troubles, and you've got Goodbye to Romance. He could have just loved this album and felt like that this album was the one to listen to on his way out, which is sad, because suicide is a horrible, horrible thing, and nobody wants that. But continuing on with the article real quick. In their lawsuit, McCollum's parents claimed that there were hidden lyrics in the song that incited the teenager to kill himself. They claimed that listeners were urged to get the gun and try it. Shoot it, shoot, shoot. Osbourne, a popular star of heavy metal music, responded that Suicide Solution had no hidden lyrics and was actually an anti-suicide composition written about a fellow musician who drank himself to death. Although it is generally legal in the United States to express any viewpoint or feelings, it is not legal to directly incite specific and imminent violent actions. But since this standard is hard to prove, virtually every attempt to hold an entertainer responsible for allegedly inciting action has failed. For instance, in 1981, an appellate court held that NBC and the producers of a television movie, Born Innocent, could not be held liable. I'm not going to go any further with that certain paragraph. But the court in California dismissed the lawsuit in '88, 4 years after their son's passing. They ruled that it was not a foreseeable result of Osbourne's song. So many metal bands have been accused of this. And being a fan of metal, it bothers me. They are people just like us who have extraordinary jobs, though. And that extraordinary job is that they get to express their emotions, their thoughts, and whatnot through instrument as well as verse. And being a poet and writer myself, a lot of times what I write about is what I experience. And, same goes for any other writer. And I definitely can see it in Ozzy's writing, like I had already said. But to hold some, like, to say these kinds of things, and the 80s was full of things like this. The satanic panic with Dungeons and Dragons, oh, metal music is evil, and all these other things. They didn't take the time to get to know people, and it's awful, the things that kind of came from that. But I do want to expand more on this in another episode, because this is supposed to be a celebration. Ozzy can no longer tour. Black Sabbath was able to do a reunited show back in 2017 where they officially retired as Black Sabbath, and they even did like a remastered album where they actually like re-recorded some of the songs and stuff, and it turned out fantastic. But he is going to be able to spend the rest of his days with his family, and that is super, super wonderful. And he's been trying to move back to England, he said, for like 4 years. And I think that was like back right after COVID or something like that. And he's wanting to he's wanting to go home. He's wanting to live quietly on a farm in England peacefully. And can you blame the guy? I definitely think it's deserving. Um, he entertained us for so many years, and super thankful for 50 years of Ozzy. It's incredible to say that, but whatever your favorite thing is about Ozzy, the dude was an amazing entertainer, and I wanted to focus on the highlights today, as well as obviously like some of the other stuff, the heavier stuff we have to talk about. But like, fantastic career, brought so much, uh, in the invention and evolution to music and the metal genre itself. One of my favorite pictures right there of him in the St. Louis Blues shirt, because I'm from St. Louis. My mom was a big hockey fan, is a big hockey fan. But so I grew up going to like a handful of Blues games a year, and watching several on TV. And that might be a tradition I need to start back up again, is watching some hockey. But man, it got even better in the year we won the Stanley Cup, because Ozzy redid it again, and I love that. But man, Ozzy, to wrap this up, because we're almost to 50 minutes, and I think it would be so poetic to stop this thing directly at 50 minutes and not edit it at all or anything, and just leave it appear 50 minutes as is. And I was going to talk a little bit of throwing dirt. I guess I could do that right now, because we are, as this is recording, the rally in Portugal is going on, and rally is a big thing in Ozzy's home country of England. It's getting really interesting. Rovanperä rolled, Solberg rolled. I think Neuville's in like third right now. Oit's won a couple of stages. Taka won the first stage. So lots of big things coming out of Portugal. Points will be kind of interesting. We will talk more about that next week. Thank you guys so much for being here and helping celebrate Ozzy. Don't forget that we're going to do a vote again. George Strait, Chris Ledoux, Alan Jackson for our next episode. Ozzy, long may you reign as the Doom Father, the Prince of Darkness, the Godfather of heavy metal. And we've got so much more to cover here on Tin Roof. I'm so excited for the opportunities that are coming. I almost stopped this entirely, but thankfully I did not. because had I stopped this entirely, this episode wouldn't have happened. Some other steps forward that were able to be taken this week would not have happened. And yeah, this, like, Ozzy was, a big reason as to why this podcast got started, because of his hand in metal. And I've been wanting to talk Ozfest like in a full depth for a while, but just hadn't gotten around to it yet. So getting to talk about the different bands and stuff that were on there was a lot of fun. Turn on some Ozzy and celebrate Ozzy this week. Thank you guys so much for joining us, and we will catch you. I'll try to get another one out next week. I've kind of gone to this every other week schedule, so we'll try and catch you later on right here on the, wait for it, 3, 2, 1, Tin Roof Podcast.